That would be a death sentence wrapped up like a Christmas present under the tree. And the sticker affixed to the wrapping paper would read, Jack Noble.
This is I Don't Even Own a Television. Noble Beginnings. A Jack Noble thriller. Jack Noble #1.
So, Jack Noble then.
There are books that are good, there are books that are bad. There's some books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all. Cause a novel can ruin your life. Hey buddy, I don't even own a television.
All right, welcome to I Don't Even Own a Television. I Don't Even Own a Television podcast. IDEO TV Pod, episode number 141. We're here to talk about a book that is technically titled Noble Beginnings, but if you look for it anywhere on the internet, you're going to get a really long string of letters and a whole lot of punctuation marks.
It's like he got paid by the utterance of the string Jack Noble.
Yeah, and this was written by L.T. Ryan. The cover is doing everything in its power to convince you that this is a Jack Ryan book.
Or a Jack Reacher book. It don't care.
No, but I mean, like, the way the name and the fonts are positioned.
For sure.
You could easily look at this and mistake this for Jack Ryan. Yeah. It's not Jack Ryan. It's Jack Noble.
And that's Noble, my friends. Wink.
Yep. Noble Beginnings. The first in the series. And I know you specifically wanted to do this.
Yeah, because of the stupid pun title. I first accidentally bought the second one. Whoops. But this had been...
Well, that's a waste of $2.99.
$4.99.
Oh, man. I got mine for free.
I know. And now is as good a time to mention as any. If you would like to help me subsidize this purchase, I will be dancing for nickels down at the wharf a little later.
With a tattered hat on the ground.
Yeah.
And a sign that says, please help Jack Noble.
Made bad purchase decision online. Yeah, so this had been advertised at me for a while. I think actually they may have gotten their links messed up because I really don't think I would have made such an elementary mistake as buying something without a dumb punny title when the dumb punny title was staring me right down the eyes. But before we go any further, Jay, who are you?
Oh, yeah, that's important. I totally forgot. I am J.W. No. I was gonna say no bull, but you stole my bull. You stole my thunder. So I'm just gonna say I am J.W. Sniper Friedman.
Ooh, and I'm Chris. A Chris Collision production. Adventure 1 Collision.
Number 386.
Right.
And yeah, this is I Don't Even Own a Television. It's a podcast about bad books.
It is. And this one was advertised to me, so I ended up just thinking it might be good to do on the show. And their algorithms are so good that I have seen it advertised to me on my lock screen no fewer than 3 more times since completing the purchase. Here's a hot tip, kids. Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, if you've already bought something, you can stop showing me the ad.
I am as aware of the Jack Noble brand as anybody on the planet now, and I don't want to be any more aware of it than I currently am.
I'm willing to bet there are multiple versions of this that you can download with different variations on that incredibly long title that has a colon, parenthesis, and a episode number. So there's probably just Noble Beginnings.
Right.
There's Noble Beginnings, a Jack Noble thriller, etc., etc.
The one I bought does have the very beginning of the second Jack Noble adventure, A Deadly Distance, I believe it's called.
Yeah, not punny at all.
I'll be keeping my distance from that one.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty deadly compared to this.
And that's why they call me the Gene Shalit of the Bad Book podcast world. Side note, please do not call me that. If you do call me that, please, I literally beg you, do not call me that to my face.
You can call
it would make me so sad.
You can call me the Jay Sherman of the Bad podcast world, though. I'm okay with that. It stinks.
Awesome.
So I guess before we go any further, I like to try to do a little bit of research about authors when I've never heard of them. And L.T. Ryan is someone I had never heard of.
L.T. definitely not a pen name Ryan.
Yeah.
Wink.
And I quickly ran into a wall because this is a man who has very little online presence. He has a website, he has a Facebook, he has a Twitter, but all of them mostly exist just to promote his books And then sometimes he posts pictures of his daughter, and then sometimes he posted pictures of his dog in a series that ended with a R.I.P. Sadie, which made me really sad. So I'm going to try to take it easy on the man himself. He's not out there spewing hate on the internet, which is kind of surprising considering the militaristic, jingoistic contents of this book.
Yeah.
But here's what we do know about L.T. Ryan. I almost called him Jack Ryan again. He writes books in series. He has 3 series currently going at once. He has Jack Noble, a tough as nails government killer, ex-military, as of the end of this book. Oops, spoiler. With a heart of gold. He's got upcoming spin-off series from this series. One featuring Jack's gigantic burly pal, who's tough as nails.
And his name is Bear.
Bear Logan. And then another one featuring his commanding officer's daughter, Clarissa, who, it is hinted, is also tough as nails.
Right. I want to know, I want to just call out one thing. That's Bear Wilson as in B-E-A-R, like the animal, not Bear Logan as in B-A-R-E Logan, which is a web search that I know some of you listening have definitely done. Here's a tip. Try DeviantArt. Also, nude will get you farther than bear.
Yeah, probably. So, also, there's the Mitch Tanner series, which is more of a murder mystery series about a gritty and tough-as-nails homicide detective.
We should have read that one. That
who also has a heart of gold.
Oh, does he have a dog?
Not that I know of, but I didn't dig too deep. He probably does. He's a detective. Like all detectives have dogs.
And they need dog detectives.
Yeah, and they needed someone to go home to their empty apartment with since their wife and kids left them, where they can get drunk and talk to the dog. That's how this genre works.
Yes, this genre, and definitely not the day-to-day life of anyone in this room named Chris Collision.
And the Affliction Z series, which is yet to have its first release.
What?
Which is about zombies who do not have functioning organs, but I'm sure the human beings in these books do have hearts of gold.
Yeah. Are you sure you're reading that right? Are you sure it's Affliction Z and not just Afflictions, which is a T-shirt line?
With like fake tribal tats on them?
Hell yes.
I don't know, but it's not too late. I mean, none of them's come out yet. So LT, if you're listening to this.
And you know, if you need 2 people for whom graphic design is their passion, get at us, dog.
I can make one of those shirts for you that has 18 different fonts that says like, I hate crime but love dogs and my daughter. Don't fuck with me or you'll be looking at the ceiling.
Damn.
In like just, you know, all sorts of different cool fonts.
Right.
And then we can sell them at the county fair.
You know, dude, I don't read your T-shirt into a microphone when we're recording, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't put me on blast like that.
I worked with a dude once who will remain nameless, who used to wear a T-shirt more than one day in a row. He apparently was not a fan of laundry, that said in like 8 different fonts, my job title is staff engineer because wizard is not a job title. Cool.
I mean, I've definitely bought bad things off the internet for people. It's just that those people that I then give them to usually will wear it one time in my presence to show me that they love me, and then it will magically get lost in the wash. But I guess this guy just maybe he loves his friends just a little bit more.
So one of the things I couldn't find info about, which really surprised me because really, as we talk about this book, I think it'll become pretty obvious why. There's no mention of L.T. Ryan ever being a Marine. And that really surprised me because I figured I would go to his page and it would say, like, L.T. Ryan, Marine and author.
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's not entirely clear to me how accurate the military / thriller stuff in this is. And
yeah, it should be clear, neither of us are military or ex-military, in case you haven't figured that out by now.
Hoorah.
It's oorah, my friend.
It's hoorah.
Okay.
Because I wasn't in the Marines.
It's hoorah when you're really excited about a birthday present.
Indeed. For I'm a jolly good fellow. Yeah. That said, a lot of this strikes me as the kind of thing that you would do if you wanted to knock off Jack Reacher, but you hadn't read any of the Jack Reacher books. You had just seen the movies.
That sounds fair.
So, yeah, maybe he's just the kind of writer who one could describe as a military enthusiast, someone who goes to the shopping center and hangs out near the knives, somebody who perhaps has a lot of army surplus.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to rag on the author too much because I don't know much about him. I haven't seen him spouting hateful things on the internet.
Right.
He doesn't seem like a MAGA chud or anything like that, but he definitely owns a lot of knives.
The inciting incident for this book is literally a good soldier drawing a line about what you can and cannot do to both enemy combatants and enemy non-combatants.
Yeah, so that already puts it in kind of like the upper echelon of ethics when it comes to military thrillers.
Yeah, this is this is basically, just by virtue of that, actually the Bernie Sanders of techno thrillers.
Admittedly, it's a low bar to clear. You could skip over it, but it is what it is. And I think we should get back to the book because I don't want to spend too much time ragging on a dude who, we know virtually nothing about.
Right. Although I will say that there's quite a charming picture of him in my version. He is said to live with his wife, the youngest of their kids, and their dog. I always love it when somebody goes out of their way to put their wife, child, and dog on the exact same level.
Yeah. That's how. I mean, that's good. And I mean, I have to go back to this one more time. In that, like, this guy thinks, whether or not he thinks the rules of engagement are correct, he thinks Marines are the coolest thing in the world, like an 8-year-old boy or something. Like, he thinks they're gods on earth. Like, there's more Marine worship in this book than in a Lovecraft novel. Oh, I've been waiting like 4 days to say that.
Is that the one you texted me about?
Yes, it is.
That's nice. I'm a little surprised you didn't actually just like get up after you said that and just kind of
do a victory lap.
Yeah, and just like watch that one launch past the fence.
It's a bat flipper for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And just take like healthy man somehow moving slower than Kirk Gibson trot around the bases.
It's a Yasiel Puig of a joke for sure. I was really proud of myself about that. But now that we've ruined it by talking about how long I took to think about it.
I mean, no, you got through the book faster than I did, and I applaud you for that.
It can't all be improv, folks. Sometimes you got to come with your material prepared.
Hell yeah. It's the illusion, or more accurately, the performance of a conversation that you're listening to, not a real conversation. We should delete that.
I don't know, because I want to point out to a lot of people that a lot of improv is really bad, and I think a lot of podcasts bill themselves as completely improv, and I think very few of them pull it off, with the exception of some heavy hitters.
Right.
Because there's a lot of stuff that feels pretty strained out there. I think it's good to admit sometimes I thought of this joke on Wednesday.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Let me take you behind the scenes. We don't remember every single word of the book we had to read. No, sometimes we take the occasional note.
Yeah. I mean, I take a lot of notes.
I had so much trouble taking notes on this one. I honestly, when I first made my big hit, I took like 2 notes in the first couple of pages. That's not unusual as I'm kind of getting into the world. And then beyond that, it was like, I finally figured this out on the way over here. You know what the experience of reading this book was like? The experience of reading this book with an eye towards talking about it was like, do you remember when you were in probably grade school, occasionally, if you brown bagged your lunch, there might be a butterscotch pudding cup in there? Trying to talk about this book is like trying to talk about a butterscotch pudding cup. There's just not that much to say.
It's interesting that you mentioned grade school, because I've said this on the show before, but I got real and then this happened and then this happened and then this happened vibes from it. Kind of that 12 to 13-year-old level of storytelling where it's very serial. Literally, I'd say this book gets relatively entertaining, but not until about 30%, because before that what you have is just like a series of guys getting arrested, moved to another place, freed, arrested, moved to another place, freed, arrested. Like, it happens like 5 times.
Oh my God. And the book is all but real time. This is something we find in a lot of mediocre to bad books, I think, is not knowing what is and is not important. But so much is presented. It is so relentlessly real time with insanely pointless levels of detail at all times. Like, we are told that he's driving a Chevy Tahoe every time he gets into or out of the Chevy Tahoe.
This guy likes brand names, too.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of brand names. I guess that's to lend realism to the world.
Probably.
Yeah.
But one of the things that it does is it means that when you aren't given a piece of information, it's actually distracting.
Yeah.
So
very true.
At one point, he has this 4-person meeting in a diner. They all order food. They all eat food, but we aren't told what they order or what they're eating, except one guy's eating pancakes.
That's all you hear, yeah.
And I spent like an hour just frustrated about this. Like, what did Jack Noble have? What did Bear have? You know, come on.
Earlier on in the book, whilst incarcerated in one form or another, Jack Noble does make, some witty quips to his possessors, because that's just the kind of guy he is. And he does mention that he's an Eggman for breakfast. So my guess is Jack Noble was eating eggs. I don't know what everyone else was eating.
Actually, the way he was doing that was... This is a stealth high point, and we'll do Plot in 60 soon, I promise.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Plot in 60. I didn't... Yeah, I did put it on the
You
outline.
did, but
yeah.
we're just having fun. We got a loose format today.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thin slice of onion skin we're working with here.
It's true. Yeah. Just wait until our 45-minute digression into Operation Mindcrime. Does it hold up AF, or is it merely still life-changing?
Man, I want to have that digression right now, but we shouldn't.
We shouldn't.
Let's do Plot in 60 seconds.
Well, okay, but I did want to say that it's a stealth high point how sassy he gets with his captors, because everybody wants him to shut up, and he's just prattling in the most... It's probably the most entertaining part of the book, because he's like, a lot of people like pancakes for breakfast, but I don't. If you eat enough to feel full, then you just feel too full. But give me 2 eggs and I can go all day. And it's like right then that somebody cuts him off.
By punching him in the stomach or something while he's chained to a chair.
But you could, like, literally any actor could make that effectively annoying, from your Scott Atkinses to your Pee Wee's Herman. Like, anybody could do it.
The problem is that it feels like it comes directly out of a movie where, Tom Cruise, say, is being held hostage, or Brad Pitt or somebody like that.
Right.
And it's totally one of those, like, movie filler lines, like, oh, I'm getting beat up, but look at how resilient I am. I'm just going to talk about some bullshit.
Yeah, that's very fair and very true. But, I mean, that's also... One can criticize this book perhaps for not aiming a tad higher, but when it hits what it is aiming at, I feel that that's worthy of being celebrated.
Okay, sounds good. Plot at 60?
Let's 60-second a plot, buddy.
Here's a song.
Nobody knows if you finish or not. You got 60 seconds to give them a plot. Plot in 60 seconds.
All right, you have 60 seconds to escape these shackles. Describe the plot of the book, and then run out of the military prison without getting caught. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Begin.
It's 2002, and Jack Noble and his buddy Bear are Marines in Iraq, and the CIA is torturing civilians, and Jack and Bear put a stop to it by beating the ever-loving shit out of the CIA agents doing it, and then returning to base to drink 12 beers each and talk about how their beards are coming in. Jack and Bear are then taken into custody and brought back to the States and interrogated in a completely half-assed manner, locked up for a bit. I honestly forget how they escape. They need to hook up with their only Marine buddies, Colonel Abbott and General Keller, to find out what's going on. This requires more detailed information about driving on I-95 than you'd think it would. Abbott sends them to Delaney, who gives them a key and gets killed in the cheapest plot move we have seen in many a book. Abbott gets killed, tells Jack to protect his 19-year-old daughter. Turns out Keller, he's a bad man. He's profiting from the war, and not just from his wife being a best-selling romance novelist. So Jack tricks Keller into confessing into a microphone and gives the recording to Deputy Director of Defense Marlowe, who destroys it because, forget it, Jake, it's Washington Town. Bear and Jack break up. Jack moves to Florida and gets recruited into a super secret spy organization that needs his skills. The end.
Very close.
Oh, shit, I went over?
10 seconds or so.
10 seconds. God damn it.
I'm sorry, but that was a really good effort.
I really tried this time. I didn't have time to time myself, which I will occasionally do, and take some lines out.
You know, if you
I really thought I had it.
If you would have left out the parts where you weren't really sure where something happened, you would have made it.
Oh, right.
So next time, just fucking put your shoulders back and go in there like a Marine. Hoorah!
Adapt, improvise, overcome.
Exactly.
That's my motto.
And trust me, folks, I know we have some listeners who are armed forces or armed forces veterans. We're not making fun of you. We're making fun of this depiction of your lifestyle.
Yeah, or of a job you had
Of a
or
job
have.
you had, formerly had. That's probably more accurate.
Yeah.
Although, depending on who you're talking to, once a Marine, always a Marine.
I mean,
but
I
those
don't know.
people I don't necessarily like talking to.
Actually, write it. If you are active or former or whatever, armed forces, and you really like it when people who never served walk up to you and fetishize you, possibly wearing tactical clothes they bought at the mall, let me know. That would be an interesting fact.
Hey, how much fruit salad you got back home, huh? Any medals?
Oh.
Yeah? You seen some action?
Yeah. You ever dance with the devil by the pale moonlight?
So, is it true that you had to shit outside?
You ever see any movies about gladiators?
Tommy?
So anyway, that's the plot. Now, an eagle-eyed sniper of a man such as yourself might have seen that I might have left a thing or two out. But what I want to focus on right now is the core of the plot. Now, I want to talk about that for a second before we get to high points, low points.
Yeah.
You may have felt, Jay, as someone who also read this book, that I fudged the plot a little.
Yeah.
And to that, I would say, okay, but I think LT Ryan also fudged the plot. Because I think what we have here is the gestures of a conspiracy that goes where? To the top.
All the way to the top.
Yeah, does it go all the way to the top?
It goes at least 3 stories below all the way.
No, I think it's like what would happen if Jack Noble did a test your strength thing at the county fair, which I'm assuming happens.
Second county fair reference in one episode. Woo! Ding, 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 ding.
And I'm assuming that he actually does this no later than book 4.
Yeah.
Probably to intimidate a group of toughs by showing them that he can pound that thing all the way to the top with just one arm.
Yeah.
So we have the gestures of a convoluted, complex, internecine plot that goes all the way to the top. But what I don't think we have is an actual plot.
It looks like by the end of this book, it's going to be revealed in the next book. And it should be mentioned, we started at the first book of the series. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of what appear to be callbacks to things that haven't happened.
Right.
That left me very confused until I read later on that there are 3 prequels to this book.
Oh, good
So
God.
apparently, he probably had outlines for 3 books before this, and then started with this one to flush it out.
Oh, I think he had...
Flesh it out.
Oh, no, I think flush it out was maybe not intentional, but more accurate.
Flush it out is, the wrong word, but maybe the correct sentiment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I think...
And I mean stuff like, we know literally nothing about his recruit training experience other than it ended early. So why is the deputy director of defense saying, everybody knows who you are, sniper, because of your legendary exploits in recruit camp?
There's that. There's also the fact that there is a love interest in this book who apparently has kicked Jack out of her life at one point, but you're never really told why, and it doesn't get into it at all. But she just kind of appears out of nowhere and then becomes just this very generic female character in a dude book that needs to be saved repeatedly, and it's bleh.
Is she there exclusively to get taken hostage at a crucial point for the plot?
Yes.
You tell me.
Yes, absolutely. And she doesn't even appear until 3/4 of the way through the book. So that's another thing about this book that I want to mention is it feels like it's a very languid pace until about 75% through, and then all of a sudden, like it's like you could see someone doing the wrap it up motion, like in his study while he's typing.
Yeah,
because then everything just comes together, and it kind of ends with like the most television show to be continued kind of ending that I've ever seen.
Does he get handed a business card by a mysterious stranger in a rooftop Florida bar?
Who wants him to be a government killer, quote unquote?
Oh, God.
And then the words "the end" literally appear.
Yeah. So anyway, the end was kind of a high point for me, which reminds me.
Not yet. Because otherwise we have to talk about something that one of us would have to pick as a low point, and it wouldn't be fair because the prose and the style of this book is very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Rad?
No, there's...
Excellent-tastic.
How can I describe this? It's affably dumb. And, I know a lot of writers and people who are new to writing like to shit on adverbs. And I'm here to say that I think adjectives can be just as bad as adverbs.
Oh my God. This was a note. Can I read you just the first, I'm going to say paragraph of this book?
I think it's one of the ones I have highlighted, so go for it.
Okay. Perhaps you'll add this, or mentally, whether or not Jay does, listener, please go ding every time you hear a modified noun in the following passage.
Yes.
I leaned back against a weathered stone wall. Muffled voices slipped through the cracked door. The night air felt cool against my sweat-covered forehead. A light breeze carried with it the smell of raw sewage. I could be wrong. I don't know that we've had a non-modified noun to this point. Orange-tinted smoke from a distant fire rose high into the sky.
This is the part where my highlight starts.
Wisps of smoke streaked across the full moon ahead of the mass of artificial cloud cover, threatening to block the moonlight I used to keep watch over the sleepy street, while the CIA Special Operations team did their job inside the house.
So moonlight is the first unmodified noun we come to, and that is like noun number 15 or 16 in that paragraph.
It's amazing. And it just goes on like that. But like, it's just so noticeable. Your first dive into the pool is that.
Yeah, for sure. And then we go on, like, there's obviously a lot more of this. The whole book is written in that style. But then there's just some weird flubs that really stuck out to me. And one of them in particular I found really entertaining. It's talking about how they're American soldiers, but they're American Marines, but they're actually trained by the CIA to be special ops agents. Mm-hmm. And it says, the men who tried to take us on had no way of knowing who we were, and they had no chance of living long enough to find out. Despite that, they always engaged us.
Right.
How does despite that work in a sentence? You're saying they didn't know this and they didn't know that.
Right.
Despite that, they always engaged us.
There's a lot of other moments where it just shows that it was typed and never really looked at again. Exactly like that. So there's one that says...
I mean, just replace that with "and yet."
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
There's one that's like, hurried to where Jessie lay on the floor and pulled her up by her feet so she no longer an easy target.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That's chapter 19. There's one that I'm looking for. It's not obvious to find, but there's just a would instead of a would not.
Oh.
Like the sentence is just missing the obvious not that it needs. And it's just kind of a bummer.
Missing the obvious not.
And then a couple of other things like, here's a great sentence. A look of knowing washed across Jessie's face. What?
A look of knowing.
A look of knowing.
She got the power up is what happened. She got to the end of the dungeon and she beat the final boss.
Oh.
And she obtained the look of knowing.
Oh, man. I hear if you have like 32 rat scrota, you can turn that into a look of knowing.
Yeah.
There's other great clunky moments like, the empty parking lot indicated all visitors had left before we arrived.
Sweet. Thanks for telling us what an empty parking lot means.
Yeah, I really wish that had been one of the moments, because this book does have a decent sense of humor. So if Jack Noble had said that out loud, Bear would definitely have said, no shit, Sherlock.
Maybe. Or
yeah, maybe.
We'll get to another thing in High Points, Low Points. I wanted to point one out. So this book is written from the perspective of Jack. It's first person, but there's several times when he needs to describe something in detail that maybe a little too complicated, a little too technical, a little too jargony for a mainstream audience. He will suddenly break the fourth wall and address the audience, the reading audience, but just only for like one sentence at a time. And my favorite example of this is he's describing a diplomat that he sees in Washington, and it says, 2 Department of Defense agents followed close behind. They were younger than the 3 politicians, and they wore dark suits, dark glasses, and earpieces, just like you see in the movies. Now, who would think to themselves like that if they already knew what that stuff meant?
Right. But he is narrating it. But yeah, no, that's a really good call.
But it's not like the type of book where he's like narrating, here's something that happened to me that I'm going to explain to you. It's
right.
You're supposed to be in his head.
Yeah.
This guy has been a special agent for years and years. He's not going to be like, wow, those earpieces are just like the ones you see in the movies. Well, it feels very much like it's for the audience, and it made me laugh.
Well, so that's actually a really interesting point, because this is set in 2002. At this point, they tell us about 400 times that he's been in the Marines, assigned to the CIA for 8 years, right? So
yes.
He hints that he never went to college. So let's assume he joined at 18. 2002 minus 8 would be
1996.
Right. So that puts him graduating in 96, which puts him at 18. Means he's born in what, 78?
Yeah, he's like my age.
Yeah, which is...
Yeah, that's true, because I'm class of 97, so yeah.
Which is hilarious to me, because he, time after time, is like... At the very end, there's this magnificent thing where he buys the most modern cell phone telephone on the market.
Yeah.
And he's amazed because this is a cell phone telephone that does electronic mail. And he doesn't panic anytime somebody gives him a email address to deal with. But he also has to offload the process of burning a CD to his young girlfriend, Jessie or Jackie or whatever the fuck her name is.
Yeah, fridge girl, as we'll call her.
Oh, let's not call her that.
I mean, that's her purpose, but we won't call her that. It's fine.
Yeah, Jessie, the girl hostage.
Yeah, there we go.
So his relationship with technology for a guy who should be literally your age was hilarious to me.
Yeah, I mean, especially a guy who's apparently like smart enough and sharp enough to make it into special ops from Marines recruit camp. They were like, well, let's pick this doofus who thinks out loud and doesn't know anything about computers. AOL existed at this point in time.
And had for some years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
I was
that made me
stealing
laugh.
Archers of Loaf MP3s like when this book is taking place.
I was roadieing for Archers of Loaf when this book took place.
Oh, damn.
I wasn't, but I wish I was cool enough to wish that I had.
Okay, I think we can now move into high points and low points. What do you think?
I think it's time to get high.
High points are high, and low points are low. High points, low points, get ready to go.
All right, so high points, low points. We're going to attempt to salvage the good and savage the bad. I thought of that earlier this week, too.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Would you like to go first?
I would. And this is a very literal high point. Here is something from page 5 of this particular book. Baal said nothing. He just kept walking. His rank on the team was too low to justify acting like a prick. I had wanted the opportunity to beat it out of him for weeks now. And because I am fundamentally 10 years old,
I laughed at the same part.
You want to beat it out of a prick? Huh? And I don't know. It just really made me laugh.
No, I mean, we both have our Beavis and Butthead qualities. I think that's inarguable at this point.
Yeah.
But at least we do it respectfully.
Exactly. It really made me like this book.
All right, so my first high point is much broader. And I will say, this actually is a very hard book to put down once you start reading it. And I say it with an amount of cynicism, because I think it's very much by design. The writer is taking a lot of cues from guys like James Patterson, and he's ending almost every chapter with a cliffhanger. And I'm pretty sure it's because he wants you to keep going, because he knows that if you take the time to step back from the book and think about it, the plot's going to completely unravel.
Yeah.
So he just wants you to keep going and going and going and going because, like, it's paper thin. But, like, nonetheless, it's pretty tough to quit, especially after the first 25% or so where your guys are just getting shackled and moved around. Like, once the machinations start, once the gunfights start, it's a very difficult book to put down. So I will say it's a page-turner, even if it is done in kind of a cynical, intentional way.
Sometimes the magic tricks work.
Yeah.
You know?
And I know that kind of sounds like a low point, but I read this book in a day. And I mean, that's rare for this show.
Right.
Normally, I have to force myself to get through the book in time to record. And this time I was done 3 days early.
Well, I wish I had been in your boat because I certainly was not. Anywho, without more dwelling, so you said we've salvaged. Perhaps it's time now to savage.
Unfortunately, not Doc Savage.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe that's
brother.
me when it's my turn. I get to be Doc Savage.
Oh,
yeah.
Doc, Savage. Yeah. Okay, so I'll go first with a low point. We've talked about this after I explicitly didn't talk about this in Plot in 60. The relationship stuff in this book is not well handled. So Jesse walks back into his life. Actually, he walks back into Jesse's life because Bear has been shot in the shoulder. She's an ER nurse, so she can patch up old Bear. And then we get moments like this. I felt her hot breath on my neck. My life's been ruined since I walked out of yours. And that's just some trite mess. And they sort of have this low rent, bicker banter relationship that doesn't really go anywhere. And you just know for certain that she and Bear are going to exit the book because the whole point of a book like this is it has to reset to the hero being alone at the end because he's got to be alone at the beginning of the next one.
It's Rockford Files or something. Like, it wouldn't work if, like, Columbo got married. Well, no, Columbo was married. You never saw his wife, although I'm still convinced he was lying. I don't know if I've talked about this on the show or not, but I'm a giant Columbo fan, and he's always talking about his wife and kid, but you never see them on screen. And I'm sort of convinced that Columbo just lied about
truther.
I think that he was lying about having a family to make himself seem more relatable to these people he was interrogating. Because then you also see him, like, sleeping under his desk and, like, existing solely on food from vending machines and, like, cop station coffee. I don't know. Anyway, Columbo, check it out. It's a great old show.
Right. But then you get other moments and you sort of see why Jackie might have left. Like this. It turned out to be a good thing she had been held hostage by Martinez, notwithstanding the emotional scarring and baggage the ordeal would leave her with.
Fuck you, dude.
She kept her spirits up, though, and regularly made jokes at my expense from the back seat. Also, you could offer me $100, and I could not tell you why it was good she had been taken hostage.
Yeah, it's not explained other than mental toughness, I
don't
guess.
know. Yeah.
It's pretty messed up. Like, I mean, she exists solely in this book to be taken hostage and then rescued. And, like, then later on she makes some quips.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that there's this series of spin-off books.
Yeah.
Doesn't even include her.
Oh, no. But who does it include? And this is where I really start to object.
Clarissa?
Yes.
Well, I mean, she can explain it all, so.
Right, which is a wonderful superpower.
Yeah.
Right? That is amazing. If I could explain it all, I think I would be in a better place in my life than I am today.
Unfortunately, she can't seem to explain coherently why right-wing politics function.
Yeah.
But she tries a lot.
She does try a lot. That's a little dark.
But it's true.
But I will
she
say,
also got into a big feud with a professional wrestler on Twitter, and that ruled.
That's crazy.
I don't remember who it was.
So anyway, Clarissa is, I think, Abbott's daughter. Abbott, after Noble gets him shot, says, take care of my daughter. So after the plot is completely wrapped up, what does Jack do? He drives from D.C. to New York, where our 19-year-old friend, Clarissa, is, has some coffee, putters around, and then finally knocks on her door. And in the least likely moment in this entire thing, her New York walk-up apartment, she's like, yeah, totally. There's an ashtray on the table. Let's go ahead and smoke in here.
No.
Which even in 2002 seems unlikely.
If you aren't owning that place, you're not smoking in that place.
Yeah. At which point he finally comes clean and says, can I have some whiskey? Great. Thanks for that. Your dad's dead. And then when she kisses him on the cheek goodbye, we are told explicitly that her kiss lingered a little too long. And every time he mentions her and her new 19-year-old status, he's like, she had turned into a woman since the last time I saw her, and it's completely gratuitous, and I did not care for it even a small bit.
Girl, you'll be a woman soon. Okay, better version of that song, the original or the Urge Overkill cover?
Everything Urge Overkill is worse than anything else, so I will take Neil Diamond all day, every day.
Hard disagree. But anyway...
Do
you not like Sister Havana? That song rocks.
I dislike everything Urge Overkill did, starting with Existing.
Well, have you ever seen the entire... They made like 6 or 7 issues of a zine. Like, it's these two women from whatever town Urge Overkill was about.
I believe that was Chicago, Illinois, USA.
Yeah, I think it was Chicago. Yeah, because Steve Albini worked with them under duress.
Yeah.
But yeah, these two women just released like 6 or 7 issues of a zine about how bad and awful and phony Urge Overkill is. It's good reading. You should look it up.
I would probably enjoy that, even though I acknowledge, do not at me, folks, I acknowledge that saying Urge Overkill was inauthentic is a category error. Authenticity is not what they were going for. I get it. It boils down to them making sounds that in my ear are displeasing.
I love them, but I have a soft spot for any of that power pop heavy kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And to me, they were very much kind of like somewhere between Big Star and hair metal.
Uh-huh.
So that's right up my alley.
And this is, allow me to insert the early Homer Simpson screen grab from Frinkiac, where he is saying with his half glasses, one of my favorite Homer Simpson's moments, where he's just looking very, very smug and saying, I prefer to listen to Cheap Trick.
I mean, there's a lot of Cheap Trick there. But Cheap Trick.
Cheap Trick with worse production and no songs?
Yeah, I got to disagree, man. Sister Havana is a fucking jam. But anyway.
All right.
Okay.
So you are ready for your first low point, I believe.
I am. And we've alluded to this a little bit before, but I'm going to get in depth in it here. Our author, L.T. Ryan, he very obviously loves guns. And he fetishizes them to a degree that makes like Call of Duty games sound like tame in comparison. Like, nobody in this book has a pistol. They have a Beretta M9 9mm pistol with this spec and that spec and that spec. Like, no one has a rifle. They have an M16 rifle equipped with a bunch of gun stuff that I can't be bothered to remember. Mm-hmm. Like, I did a search, and I want you to answer how many times you think the word gun appears in this book.
Oh, God. Okay.
No fair cheating.
I'm not cheating. So, just how many times the word gun appears in this book?
Let alone variants of gun, like rifle and pistol. Just the word gun.
Okay, so there's about 250 pages in this book.
Yes.
I'm saying 250.
Well, you're over. So
damn it! So I don't get the prize.
Probably not. If you were to include variants like gun, pistol, piece,
right?
The word gun appears 77 times in this book, which
Holy
is still
crap,
like
once every 4 pages.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, all comic exaggeration aside, that's intense, man. Like, even for a military thriller.
Oh yeah,
77 guns.
That's a lot of guns. I mean, John Philip Sousa would have been like, that's not that many.
21 is enough.
He would have been like, wow, that's a lot of trombones, though.
Yeah.
If trombones were guns. Well, that one really didn't work. Sorry, guys. I went out on the bridge, and sometimes that bridge just Wile E. Coyotes you.
77 love songs.
Golly.
But yeah, so like in today's day and age, it's a little disturbing to read such a fetishization of like automatic rifles and automatic pistols, and dudes counting the amounts of like bullets they have left in their magazine, and like it's gross, it's squeezy, I would say.
Yeah, but I want to push back a tiny bit, because there is a moment at the end in the big climactic scene that goes like this. they're talking about the rifle that Keller has, right? Let me see. I want to.
It's
make
an
sure.
M16. Every time there's a rifle in this book, it's an M16.
But the big man delivered a heavy blow to Mike's head and dropped him on the floor. He ran toward me, dove over the couch as a shotgun blast ripped through the air from above. Guess Keller's weapon wasn't as close by as I thought, I said. I'm going to exclude some stuff, but
Remington.
Trust me, I heard Keller's footsteps as he walked down the hall. The barrel of his rifle appeared in the doorway.
Wait
Now,
a second.
I don't know much about guns, but I know that rifles and shotguns aren't the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, a shotgun could go blank. What's up with that thing? I want to know, how does it hang?
Whoa, my God, I did not expect you to pull your lyrical 9.
I think that's salt and pepper, dude. It doesn't really count.
But anyway, it was moments like that made me think, I don't know if this guy is the gun nut. I'm sorry, firearms enthusiast that this series is purporting to be written
It's
by.
actually a good point, because if he were, like, there'd be a lot more models of guns mentioned by name, but instead it's always an M99 or an M16, or in the case of the shotgun, I believe it is called out specifically as a Remington 12 gauge. But yeah, he's kind of a good poser, which is actually worse.
Oh my God.
It's actually worse.
Right. So that was a real low point for you, is this guy really doesn't know his guns. No subscriber to Guns and Ammo, JT. Sorry, God, why do I keep saying JT?
Because
LT
Jack Ryan, dude.
Yeah, but I kind of want to call him LT Ryan, as in Lieutenant
Ryan. See, that's what makes me also wonder. And actually, I don't know. Do Marines have lieutenants? I think that's a rank in the Marines.
I think so. Our character is a sergeant.
All I know is about lieutenants is they could go bad, and then they do really weird things in New Orleans.
Just keep your windows rolled up,
Yeah.
my friends.
Anyway, on to my...
That's a joke for 15 people, and will probably cause 3 of you to write us letters telling us you've unsubscribed. And you know what? Fair.
It's fair. It's fair. That's a movie that you either love or you never want to remember exists.
Or both.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's both do some more low points, I think.
Yeah, sounds good.
So I have a low point, and I don't know if this jumped out at you or if this is just a personal, whatever the opposite of fetish is for me, an anti-fetish, if you will, or just plain a thing I don't care for. Every so often, this character feels somebody's breath upon him.
Oh, all over the place.
All over the place, right?
I didn't notice it enough to write it down.
Yeah.
But this dude is smelling breath and feeling breath and like...
He feels breath upon him like he pulls triggers.
Yeah.
Although actually he shoots very few people. He mostly is a puncher.
Yeah, he's mostly like a puncher and a hitter in the face with the butt of a gunner.
Yeah.
But he does a lot of sniffing
Yeah.
and feeling breath.
And all of the bad characters have bad breath, and it is always mentioned. And I just want to tell you folks, I don't want to be in a world where I'm having to hear about halitosis all the damn time. And I get that it sets him up maybe 2 separate times for a super duper sick, I think you need a breath mint, chum, kind of burn.
There's like 3 of those in this book.
Yeah. And those are fine, except that for each of those, there's an additional 3. This guy really needed a breath mint, I thought to myself and didn't say. And it's just too damn much.
Yeah. And, all right. So I have a real low point, but then I have a supplemental low point that I want to mention because we glossed right over it and plotted 60 seconds. This book has the corniest plot device ever, where they go to meet, is his name Davenport?
Oh, the guy whose head explodes?
Yeah, where literally this guy's going to spill all the beans about what they need to know.
I believe I didn't gloss over it. I believe I said explicit. Delaney gets killed in the cheapest plot device we've seen in many a long
literally
year.
what happens is he hands them a key and they're like, what's this key to? And he's like, oh, it goes to, and then immediately gets shot in the head by guys who are using sniper rifles and night vision goggles that have no idea what words are coming out of this dude's mouth.
Yep.
It's just such a movie moment. Like, it's really hard not to call out.
It is, in fact, the bullshit, which this book would just call BS.
Yeah.
Because one of the hilarious things about this book is
It
that
doesn't
it is
swear.
It swears a lot, but only in very PG ways. Everybody's an asshole,
Yeah.
or a prick, but there is, I believe, not one instance of fuck in this book.
No, there's not. And one of my favorite things about it is, like, even Bear Logan, who is, you know, this giant, burly kind of survivalist. You get the picture of him as that. Will refer to this situation and be like, this garbage stinks.
Yeah. Oh, so often. I think we hear that like 4 separate times. And this is a book where our protagonist, friends, says, I threw my human shield to the side and reached for the rifle. That's not cool. This is a book where our protagonist says, the rainstorm and presence of the plastic garbage cans made me think, it'll be easy to dispose of the body if it comes to that. Like, this is some bad, dark shit, man.
Yeah, but no boobs and no shit.
Yeah, exactly. There's no on or off-screen sexing.
Yep.
A little chaste kissing is about as far as we go.
Yeah, and like literally barely any swearing.
Yeah.
It's like PG-13 level swearing. Like, they get a couple shits in, and that's about it.
Yeah. It's kind of cute.
They do get their shit in, as I've been known to say. But my real low point here is it's a particular scene where our hero, who we're supposed to admire, goes into a gas station while they're on the run. And here we go. Have a lot of trouble with robberies here, I said. Huh? He said. This is the attendant, who's a teenager.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, I'll read his voice in The Simpsons' pimply teenager voice, so you get it. Huh? He said. The cameras. I pointed to the 4 cameras positioned throughout the store, mounted to the ceiling. No, maybe just college kids stealing stuff. I nodded slowly. Time dragged. The gas done yet? He walked back over and looked at his screen. Yeah, total's $43.50. I handed him 320s and waited for my change. I stepped out in the cool night air, put the coffee in the water in the car, and scanned the parking lot. There was a payphone butted up to the store. I'll be right back, Bear. 2 directories dangled from the base of the phone. I grabbed the white pages and thumbed through it, tearing out a page where I found what looked to be the correct listing. Okay, dick move number 1.
Buddy. You were just in a gas station. They have big ballpoint pens. They've got tiny notebooks. They probably have a thing of index cards.
And you've got money to pay for it. But here we go.
Yeah.
I needed a map, so I went back into the store and I asked the kid behind the counter if they had any regional map books. He pointed to an aisle full of books, magazines, and car accessories. A large regional map book of Charlotte and its surrounding area sat next to a rack where the top of every magazine in the row was covered, except for its title. I searched the directory in the book, found my street, and ripped out the corresponding page. Hey, the kid said, you can't do that. I walked to the door. I'm sure the cameras caught it, kid. You can report it. Cool. So that's what all heroic men do, is just for no reason steal things from gas stations and then make fun of the teenagers that work there.
Way to stick it to the man. Correction. Way to stick it to the boy.
Yeah, I mean, as a dude who worked at a fucking 7-Eleven when I was like just turned 18, guys that did stuff like this, they were not cool guys.
Yeah.
They were assholes.
Yeah.
They were like the bullies who came in and would like take a hot dog and like put everything from the nacho stand on it and then walk up and act like they were going to pay you and go, psych, and then run out the door.
Those guys make me so mad.
This happened like once a night. And it was almost always the same kid, but he was huge, so I was scared.
Man, and the drive and dash, we had a real primitive system, so we would get ripped off for the gasoline on the reg. God. And the bummer was, like, I was enough of a sucker and enough of a team player that I would not even let my friends steal from that store at that time. Let me assure you now, if I am returned to the station where I am working at a gas station or any kind of retail establishment again, I promise you, if I know you, if I think I've even heard of you, you can shoplift to your heart's goddamn content.
Yeah.
So long as you do it respectfully.
Yeah, if you come into the Starvin' Marvin and ask my permission, you can have all the fucking Funyuns you want. Just don't be an asshole about it.
Shoot me the knowing sup head nod, and my man, you are in.
Dude, if you like maybe slip a joint across the fucking counter or something, you got nacho privileges for life.
Hell yes.
But yeah, don't be a dick like fucking Jack. I almost said Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick like Jack Noble.
No, that ain't cool, man. Where's the noblesse oblige?
Yeah. So back to, let's finish up here with 2 high points.
Oh my God, that's almost impossible. I am so incredibly soured on this guy right now.
Yeah, I mean, that is by far the low point of his behavior, other than maybe the way he treats his ex-girlfriend.
Yes, low point of man who grabs human being and uses him as human shield is rips pages out of custom.
It's not the ripping the pages. It's being a dick to the teenage kid behind the counter who's probably already scared to death because Jack Noble, I mean, he cuts an intimidating figure.
He does. He's 6'2". I remember this because it is said roughly 4 times a page.
He's stubbly. And his hair's growing out from a marine cut.
Can't tell that he's a jarhead.
Yeah.
So I kind of like this moment. This is my last high point. We've had a lot of time with Bear, although he's mostly been kind of a convenience character in the way that Jesse is there primarily to get kidnapped. Bear is there to pick up Jesse and remove her from the scene so that we don't have to see Jack do it, because that would be narratively complex.
Yeah.
But we've heard a lot about how they've been best friends for 8 years and this and that. And they're sort of like driving along. This is our denouement section. And they're discussing in the SUV what they're going to do next. "What about you, Jack?" Bear said, interrupting my thoughts. "I've got 3 months leave built up." "So you're done?" "Yeah, Bear, I'm done. This is it. I'm giving this tape to Marlowe and getting him to put my honorable discharge in writing, effective the last day of my leave. Then I'm going to..." I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. "Then I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll figure it out at some point in the next 3 months."
In the next book.
He opened his mouth to say something and must have thought better of it. His grip had loosened on the steering wheel. A smile crept up on his face. He seemed relaxed, at peace. I hadn't even thought about the possibility that our partnership stressed him out. "Bear, does being around..." I stopped mid-sentence, deciding not to go down that road. Never mind. Never minded.
Oh,
I don't know why, but
I didn't catch that. There's a strong implication there that Bear may actually be a bear.
Yeah. And I just really enjoyed the guys coming up very close to the verge of having an honest conversation about their feelings. Like, "Bear, am I a shitty friend to you?"
Yeah.
"Yes, Jack. You are a shitty friend to your friend Bear."
Do I kind of just treat you like an object that's there to save me, or, punch people when they need to be punched?
"Yes, Jack, extremely."
Well, good. I'm going to turn my emotions off again.
Right. Anyway, I don't know why that was a high point, but it I don't know. I think
it came close. It came so close.
Actually, I do know why it's a high point, because it's the most emotionally real moment in the book. Even if it's not a particularly happy moment, it is the moment that shows, you know what, LT Ryan, you could write a really interesting book if you stopped ripping off Jack Reacher for a minute. That would be kind of some interesting territory to explore.
Well, there is a Bear spinoff coming up, so stay tuned. Not to this show.
I mean, I've got a Bear spinoff coming up myself this afternoon at the gym. That's a cardio joke that really didn't come off. Also, I'm not very bearish. Anyway, Jay, do you have any high points?
This is kind of cheating because it's really a bad writing tick that should be a low point, but it made me laugh a lot, so I'm elevating it to the point of high point. The phrase, "What's going on, Jack?" is repeated like 50 times in this book. like everybody in this story, at some point in time when guns are being fired or sometimes when they're not being fired, they have to turn to Jack and go, "What's going on?" And this happens mostly so Jack can summarize the previous 10 pages or so in case you weren't paying enough attention.
Fuck, I wish I should have bookmarked every single one of those because that would have been very useful for me. Wink.
Yeah, it's really good though. There's a lot of, "Jack, what's going on? What's going on, Jack? I don't understand. Please explain to me and the reader what's happening." So yeah, that's my last high point.
Didn't you say you had a supplemental?
No, I had a supplemental low point that we already got to.
I am an idiot. Okay. So we've got high, we've got low. Unexpectedly, we're deep in, but it's time for some more games, I think.
Yeah, let's take a break first, though.
Oh, you want to take a break? Okay.
Hey, welcome back to I Don't Even Own a Television. We're full of espionage and mystery and also just like blasting some bad guys. And every now and then we need to take a break and get a little theatrical. So we're going to start this segment off with something that we like to call dramatic readings.
It sends a message to the bad guys.
Dramatic readings. We're gonna make it sound recorded. Dramatic readings. Yeah, I got some words for you.
All right, so dramatic readings. We're going to read parts of this book to you. I'm going to go ahead and start us out here. This happens towards the end, and I think it's important to notice this is set up, very obviously, for the next book in the series. Our Jack Noble.
I believe the next book in the series is called Burn Notice, the television series.
Yeah. Jack Noble has retired. He's chilling in, is it undisclosed? He's on some beach somewhere.
Oh, it's Florida. It said 48 times it's Florida.
Okay.
But I don't remember where in Florida because that was only said 46 times and so failed to
It's
trigger
like Pompano or something. I don't know. Either way.
It's a place in Florida old people like to go.
Yeah, it's Pompano. All right. Possibly Miami Beach area. I've got a proposition for you. Oh, no. Let me go back. I shifted my gaze and looked at the person. It wasn't who I hoped it would be. Jack Noble. Not a question. The man knew me. He stood with his hands on his hips, his jacket pushed just enough to the side that I could see the handle of his pistol. What I didn't see was a badge. He had to be a Fed, though. Who the hell would be in Key West, dressed in a suit in the middle of June? I found myself wishing I still carried a gun with me everywhere I went. Unfortunately, it didn't jive with swim trunks and a tank top. Do I know you, friend? I'd taken to calling strangers friend. Everyone down here was a friend. I couldn't help thinking this was the life I could have had during off seasons and after my pro football career. I've got a proposition for you. Does it involve handcuffs and a 9x9 cell? If so, I'm not interested. He laughed and pulled out a chair. May I? Have at it. He sat down and looked up at the open window. Sure, whatever he's having. He looked back at me and smiled. I looked away. This has nothing to do with handcuffs or cells. I want to offer you a job. Doing what? Well, that's complicated, you see. Let me save you the time. No. I grabbed my glass and took a sip. I'm not interested in working. You've got 2 weeks left until your government handout ends. Hey, I said as I pointed to him. I worked hard for that money. Went 3 years without a vacation. Don't go around telling me it's a freebie, and keep your damn voice down. Apologies on all counts. He stood and took his drink from the bartender's outstretched hand. 10 years or so with us and you'll never have to worry about money again. Who are you? Name's Frank. I waited for him to tell me his last name. He didn't. Who do you work for? That's classified. Not the FBI. No badge. He nodded. CIA wouldn't want anything to do with me. Correct again. NSA? He shook his head. Then who? I'll save you some time, Noble. The only way you'll find out is if you join. I looked around the street and didn't notice anyone. What's the job description? Professional killer.
Yes.
I lifted an eyebrow. He smiled. It wasn't the smile of someone that just told a joke. He meant business. It made sense. All my training had led to this moment. Who told you about me? I really can't tell you that. Marlowe. He shrugged. It was Marlowe. I need a bit to decide. You got 2 minutes, Jack. After that, I leave. My mind started on the what-if game. What if Jessie showed up? What if she didn't? I was terrified of both. But the thing that kept pushing its way to the front of my brain was that I wanted to join Frank and his mystery organization. I wanted to be part of the team. I craned my neck and looked down both sides of the street. I didn't see her. I knew I wouldn't see her. Not here. Not anywhere. Never again. I'm in, I said.
So 4 pages into the next book, which was included in the purchase of this book, it's the SIS, which is an acronym that is not explained. So maybe you have to get to like the 5th book before they tell you the name of the super secret spy agency that doesn't even exist on the books.
Shooting insolent suckers.
Ooh.
Insolent, not insulin, I should say.
Probably the I word probably doesn't stand for insolent, but probably starts with I and S.
Oh, yeah.
I would guess, which is disheartening. Like, again, there's this tiny nugget of high point buried in that, which is he's terrified that his ex will show up, and he's terrified that she won't show up. That's good shit. I'd like to hear more about that shit.
Yeah, wrong book.
I'd also like to hear more about the tank top and swim trunks. That sounds like a great outfit. I have trouble finding trunks that I find flattering. Maybe I'd like to know what Jack Noble does.
It's weird to me this man is supposed to be my age because, like, if you actually live in Florida or grew up in Florida,
yeah,
the only people who wear swim trunks when they're not swimming or have just gotten right out of the beach, right out of the water, are, like, old-ass men.
Well, he is a tourist.
That's true.
I mean, he is, and he's really, like, turning into the tourist lifestyle beach bum skid.
Yeah, that's
at this
true.
point.
That's true. He's like one step away from buying like a straw hat.
Exactly. I really wish that his recruiter said something like, and by the way, you've really packed on a few over your 3 months off. You're going to have to get back into fighting trim, bub. Because then I get to imagine the training montage. And how fun is that?
Yay.
So fun. Anyway, I'll stop kibitzing your thing and give you a little bit of equally gripping dialogue, equally gripping narrative exposition. I kept my eyes focused on the middle-aged man ascending the steps. He reached the middle of the longer stretch of sand-colored stairs and looked up in my direction. He scanned the area and fixed his stare on me. He gave me a slight nod as he came to a stop. I nodded back and checked the area around him, looking for any sign of a threat. I assumed he did the same. He started in my direction again. He stopped 2 steps below me. He looked past me, said, "Neil Delaney." I grabbed his hand and shook it. "Noble." He nodded. "I've heard of you." "I can't imagine that's a good thing." He pursed his lips and shook his head. "Big man back there is Bear. Riley Logan." Delaney looked back over my shoulder and acknowledged Bear. Then he held out his arm and said, "Let's move to the back." We walked up the remaining stairs, turned right, and took a path that led us behind 4 huge columns, stomping. Behind the 4th, there, we huddled close together. "Any place less public we can go?" I asked.
There's nothing conspicuous about, 3 giant men huddling behind a statue.
Yeah. Delaney shook his head. This is the best place. For now. Less chance something will go down here. Got it? Yeah, I said, paused and then added. I got it. So you two are part of the operation, huh? I leaned back against the thick column, crossed my arms over my chest, and nodded. What do you know about it? Delaney hiked his shoulders, cocked his head. A bit. CIA sponsored. They take Marines out of basic recruit training, Bear interrupted. Yeah, whatever. Take fresh recruits, he looked at Bear and paused a second, and then put them through their spec ops training. Turns you into well-rounded operators that they can blame crap on when someone else screws up. You're crazy enough for the job, 'cause, let's face it, you wouldn't have enlisted in the Marines unless you were crazy to begin with. He smiled and batted his eyes between us. We didn't smile back.
Oh, damn.
Way to no-sell the joke, Bear and Jack. Guess part of their spec ops training didn't include any improv training.
That would be awesome, by the way. First, we're going to learn how to kill a man with a K-bar, and after that, we're going to do the ball game.
Little zip, zop, zap.
Now you're driving the taxi. Who's that getting in? Oh, he's grumpy.
Yeah, well, anyway, so they get you before you're done. Before you've been completely brainwashed into that bullshit oorah culture.
Oorah!
That was one of their initial design flaws. The first group to come through had been through basic, recruit training and A school. They were Marines, and it caused problems when you had a dick of a spec ops team leader. They scrapped the first wave. You guys were part of the next bunch. They hit the jackpot with you two and the others that came through around the same time. From 95 through early 2001, you pretty much handled domestic stuff that the CIA couldn't legally touch. He waved his hand in a semicircle for emphasis. Okay, so first off, I have no fucking idea what it means to wave your hand in a semicircle for emphasis.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
That's a circle. That's a semicircle, and now you're describing a hill.
Yeah, or like doing the Ghost Ride the Whip dance.
Yeah, that doesn't work. Also, I just want to call out the CIA with some Marines for muscle doing domestic stuff that the CIA can't legally touch scares the poo right out of me.
Yeah, me too.
That's not cool, man. Occasionally, in a friendly nation, you always traveled 2 by 4. 2 of you, 4 of them. You spent some time in South America. Colombia, if I'm not mistaken? I nodded. He had done his research, or was more involved in this than Abbott let on. And so what I really love about that entire section is just, I'm going to describe to you events well known to you that you haven't had a chance to rehash for the reader yet.
Yeah, this is stuff from the outline for the prequels that haven't been written yet.
Yeah. Anywho, so I hope that was sufficiently dramatic. 3 giant men skulking behind a column at, I think, the Lincoln Memorial.
I like to imagine they all have their arms on each other's shoulders like a pro football huddle.
Yeah, heads down, possibly like bobbing up and down.
And then at the end they go, ready, break!
On 3, legal spec ops.
Break!
Yeah. Whew. God, this book is gripping.
It is.
Are there any parts that gripped you enough to want to wrap your hands around some kind of implement of play?
Yeah, let's do a game called What Would They Do?
Sometimes intentions are hard to define, and others the clear as day. So tell me, what would they do?
Blammo. So, in What Would They Do? We put ourselves in the characters of shoes from this book, try to establish how we would make things a little better. You know, how to improve the world just a little bit.
My man just said characters of shoes. I'm changing the name of the group chat, yo. Welcome to Characters of Shoes.
Characters
the group
of
chat.
Shoes, yeah.
So I don't know why that meme on Twitter always makes me laugh, but it always makes me laugh.
I don't
I'm
think I've
sorry
ever
to subject
seen
it to you, or subject you to it. Oh no, I misspoke. The idea is that every time in the group chat somebody makes a typo, that person gets roasted for it. This is something that I've seen roughly 0 times in my life.
I am a member of 0 group chats, so I don't know. All the cool kids have group chats without me because they know I'm the funniest guy, and I just make them all feel stupid.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm in
It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm not popular at all.
No. So I'm in the blue group chat. I just got promoted out of the brown group chat. And I look up to the gold group chat, but apparently there's a level even beyond that where one has transcended dicking around and group chatting with your friends all day.
Well, somebody start an IDEO TV book chat so I could be Mr. Cool in it.
Ooh, that sounds pretty fun, except I'm not sure I want a lot of...
Oh, yeah. You have to have phone numbers for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to maintain some level of secrecy. I can't tell you how many mornings I wake up and I'm like, God damn it, why didn't I use a pseudonym?
You are... Well, I mean, J.W. Friedman is a pseudonym. Wink.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, my real name is Richard Jones.
What's up, Dick?
Totally not Jewish at all. All right. So, in this book, there's a gang of roving early 2000 small town street punks that appear. The main one of them is named, and he's called Mike.
Yeah.
Now, this feels like a huge missed opportunity to me, because if you were Mike and you walked around with 3 guys who dressed just like you, which is basically like Fred Durst, except one guy has a mohawk, what would your gang be called?
Yeah.
And bonus points.
Okay.
Give yourself and the other 3 gang members cool nicknames.
Okay. So I'm gonna go backwards on this. So Mike he's a burly dude. He's just super duper muscly.
Still wearing Jankos and a tank top, though.
True that, but he's bald.
True.
That is established.
Okay.
One of his friends has a mohawk.
Yeah.
Right. And they're all just beefy.
They're trouble
and threatening. And that's with a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for piss your pants if you run into these dudes. So I think Mike is probably...
I was so excited to go G-I-R-L, but you didn't let me get there.
Sorry. So I think Mike as the giant, muscly, but bald guy, I think I would call him Krang.
Dude, you went exactly where I'm going.
No!
You totally did. So I'm going to have to rethink this on the fly. I shouldn't have given you advance warning.
Oh, no. So the other 2 would be presumably
Bebop and
Rocksteady,
yeah.
and then Shredder. Yeah, okay. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. That's great. We're on the same wavelength, dude.
That's actually embarrassing because I have not thought of that cartoon in a long time, and it's not even a reasonable foursome. So I am on the fly going to do something completely different.
So Mohawk guy? Mohawk guy could easily just be Shredder, right? He's covered with spikes.
Well, I can't remember if Bebop or Rocksteady had the Mohawk, but one of the 2 did.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, they were both definitely down with the scene in the early 80s, the hardcore scene. I think one or both of them may have been an agnostic front.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go a completely different direction. So the key to this fundamentally is what we've got is 4 people, one kind of a leader type who's fairly tough, and then 3 nondescript, munches behind him, taking on one titanically powerful and capable individual. I believe that your henchman, Mike, is just such a nondescript name. I believe instead we should go with something like Dirk Garthwaite.
Ooh, yeah? That's good, yeah.
And then his pals would be Dr. Elliot Franklin, Brian Philip Koluski, and Henry Camp.
What's the name of the gang?
My friend, they share a name with legendary supergroup of studio musicians responsible for many of your third favorite soft rock hits, but they're actually titanically gifted players. Yes, I'm talking about none other than the Wrecking Crew.
Ooh, that's good.
So they are 4-on-1. They are third-tier Thor villains who often fought Spider-Man. And their origin story is one of the funniest things in comics because, you hear a lot about how creative comics are and, how anything can be done well. Their origin story was a construction worker who had a crowbar was magicked to go fight Thor with his crowbar matching the hammer. And then what happened is, for some reason, he was holding the hammer holding the crowbar with 3 other guys, and it got hit by lightning, and it split his amazing powers into the 4 of them. So they became 4 really shitty supervillains.
And people wonder why I don't read comics.
God, that's awesome to me. I don't know. I think it's amazing. Anywho, so the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah,
is the answer.
Yeah, totally. My answer ahead of time was going to be Ninja Turtles villains. But I've had to change on the fly here, so I started thinking really hard about Jankos and fucking tank tops. What I've decided is Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, it's not his real name. But it's still a normal name. So the leader can have a normal name, right? Like maybe something like Jonathan.
I was going with Spike.
I'm going to say Jonathan.
You're going to say Jonathan.
Because the other members of the group I would call Monkey, Fieldy, and Head.
What?
And the gang would be called Corn.
What? And what would their power be? Surprisingly good songs for a couple of years?
Yeah, actually in being a decent band in retrospect. But basically, they'd kick down the door to your fucking convenience store and yell, "Are you ready?"
Okay, I just want to say that the guy who just said that is the exact same guy who mean-mugged me 2 weeks ago
about
in
Primus?
This very room about early/mid-stage Primus, a.k.a. quasi-semi-defensible Primus.
I'm going to say right here, though, Korn had songs. Primus did not have songs.
My friend Jerry was a race car driver, and
Jerry,
you know it.
Jerry was a race car driver over a repetitive riff that just kept going and going and going while they hired Tom Waits to talk over it.
You're thinking of Tommy the Cat.
Oh, you're right. Okay. I know how to play a bunch of Primus songs on bass. There's only so much I can say. I am not innocent in this. I grew out of Primus. I have not gone back and listened to them. Perhaps I would change my mind. But to me, they are the most embarrassing band in rock and roll history.
Oh, they're not even in the top 10 of most embarrassing bands in rock and roll history.
However, Korn, I've been listening to a podcast about Woodstock 99. And if you go back and listen to their first couple albums, it's okay. Some of it's a little whiny, not so great. Follow the Leader? Dude, that album fucking bangs. It's so good. It's so good. Got the Life is a fucking good song.
Is it a bop?
It's a bop. It's a ditty bop.
Does it slap?
It does not slap.
Oh, no.
Because I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, only hip-hop music made in the Oakland East Bay area is allowed to slap.
Allow me to rejoinder. Nah, fam.
Yeah.
I disagree. Anyway, so we have played a game. We have digressed, probably one of our deepest digressions, though not one of our lengthiest digressions in quite a while.
Let it be known, I spent most of my teenage years going, Korn is shit. Probably just because they were very popular. Because if I would have actually listened to them when I was 16 or 17,
that would have spoken
I
so
would have
loudly
been that
to you.
asshole with colored dreads and like giant black Jenkos, like selling fake acid like under the overpass.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But I was too cool for Korn. But in retrospect, dude, not a bad band.
Yeah. They had their moments, but let us graduate from Degrassi Junior High and get back on career track.
Degrassi Junior High. That's the new name of this podcast. Yeah, let's get back on track with another game here. Let's do Most Famous Fan.
The rich and the famous, but they read books too. They're rich and the famous, but they're only a little better.
we talked about this a lot. This is sort of a stepped-on Jack Reacher kind of thing. Although it's
Jack
interesting,
Ryan / Jack Reacher.
yeah. Although it's interesting that he moves into a very Jack Ryan like Spec Ops 2 kind of role.
Yeah.
Apparently in the second book, instead of the lone man roaming the wilderness to set right to wrong.
And I cannot imagine Jim from The Office playing this role.
I can.
Maybe like mugging the camera a little bit.
Yeah, that would be great. Just like constant turning, like just like you see in the movies.
Like when Bear says, like, "Are you gonna miss me?" Like, yeah, exactly.
Is that the official noise of turning to the camera?
Yeah, I think so. It's sort of like the official noise of a bulldog in, like, whenever there's a bulldog that shows up in a trailer for like a 1990s bad comedy movie.
Like a party bulldog is the
Party
kind of bulldog you mean.
It's usually while Walking on Sunshine is playing, and then it'll stop and they'll cut right to a bulldog and it'll go, "Oh."
Or that god-awful dog sample at the beginning of that boring Beastie Boys song.
We're getting really close to making Tim Allen noises, so let's continue.
That's true. This is a mouth noise podcast. Anyway, so...
Hey, have you guys heard of Michael Winslow?
Yeah.
He could go... boing.
That'd be fucking great. Michael Winslow, again, longtime listener, friend of the pod. We want you on.
I've seen him perform.
We know that's not where you're at right now, but we're demanding, respectfully, that you come on.
I saw him perform with the Orlando Symphony Orchestra, and if you've ever wanted to see like 65 professionally trained musicians look more depressed and sad, I can't think of a better option.
Well, never mind. Okay, so this is kind of a stepped-on Jack Ryan, Jack Reacher kind of thing.
I like that you said it's been stepped on.
Yeah.
Like this has been cut with baby powder.
Yeah, exactly. That said, Tom Cruise got the Jack Reacher franchise. The guy from The Office,
John Krasinski,
got the Jack Ryan franchise. So, as Tom Cruise is to Jack Reacher,
I already have an answer for this.
blank is to Jack Noble. Like, who are you there for the inevitable? Probably not Netflix. I don't think this is Netflix original series material. I think this is not Amazon original series material because that's Jack Ryan. So this is probably what I like to call an Hulu original.
Yeah.
So who in your mind
It's easy.
is the Jack Reacher, Jack Ryan for this Hulu original?
Justin Long.
Wow. Okay. He might be 6'2".
I didn't have to think about it for that long. No, it's Justin Long. Because as you go down the category of like, threatening but still kind of likable characters, actors. Well, not character actors, leading men, I guess. You go from your Brad Pitt. He's not even in this discussion anymore.
Yeah, he's got actual jobs to do.
You go down to John Krasinski, and then between him, you have a bunch of like sitcom actors that don't really have dramatic chops.
Right.
But then you have Justin Long, who's like played some drama.
Well, and there's Chris Pratt, but he's got a gig already.
Chris Pratt is way too big for this.
The guy's
I don't mean
6'2".
physically. No, I don't mean physically. I mean Chris Pratt is way too big.
That's what
for
I'm saying.
this.
He's got stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like, for example, hateful religious beliefs. Hey-oh.
Oh yeah, no. But he would know this in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's very true. So the problem is, like, Jay, this is a character who 2 separate times one punches a jaw into a broken status. That's not a Justin Long
not
to
a
me.
Justin Long. Let me rewind it then. Let me think about another dude. Michael Rooker.
Oh, that would be fucking perfect.
I mean, Michael Rooker it is.
Speaking of guys who have Guardians of the Galaxy gigs to attend to.
See, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking about like how frightening of a human being he is.
He's a scary man.
Yeah.
In the technical terms. I was thinking,
but also,
yeah.
I mean, he's been on several comedy podcasts. He has a great sense of humor.
Right.
So, yeah, Michael Rooker, I'm going with it.
I mean, your average character actor has a great sense of humor because they show up for 3 days on a shoot, do all the work, and then peace out while somebody else gets all the money. You can't do that for a living without having a good sense of self.
Good point.
I was thinking, you know, the Chris Pratt thing really made me think Chris Pine's up for pretty much anything.
I mean, those are the same people, though.
No, Chris Pine is...
No, I absolutely cannot tell any of these, like, young, white, Chris blonde guys apart.
I can.
Chris Pine was Kirk?
Yes. He's the...
Chris Pine could not one-punch a motherfucker.
He's stocky. He could one-punch a motherfucker.
No, you know who could, though? Taylor Kitsch.
Taylor Kitsch is 4'2", dude.
Yeah, but he's beefy.
Okay, first off, Jay and Hollywood, stop trying to make Taylor Kitsch happen. He's not going to happen. John Carter, more like John Snooze. I'd like a do-over at that, but I'm not going to put any work into it.
I'm not even going to criticize you on that. I'm just going to say that now there is an excellent tabletop board game based on the John Carter novels, not the movie. And there's an awesome tabletop RPG called John Carter of Mars. Some people were playing it at work the other day. It looked really fun.
I bet it's great. And do you know what has absolutely nothing to do with any of that? Taylor Kitsch.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not good.
Okay, what about Matt McConaughey if we're going in the True Detective vein? Then?
Too big, too old.
Too big, too old. Okay.
Anyway, I'm still. I think Chris Pine would be down. I think Chris Pine would like a series.
Actually, you know what? In the first Star Trek movie, Chris Pine wins a bar fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And he's got those piercing baby blues.
I'm still standing by Michael Rooker, though.
Second best eyes in Hollywood after Neil McDonough. Neil McDonough would be a decent choice because he's big and beefy, has a sense of menace, and would like a starring role in something.
Yeah.
You would know him from guy who's played the villain in a million things, including Walking Tall. The reason you don't know who he is because he's also a psycho Christian who refuses to kiss anyone on screen because...
Perfect for this movie.
He thinks it would make him unfaithful to his wife. And so he's never gotten like leading man chops, despite the fact that he's a good-looking guy, has piercing eyes. So yeah, okay, let's go Neil McDonough.
All right, yeah, that's perfect for this movie. There's no on-screen kissing.
Neil, I will script this.
I want to just try to get into the mind of an individual who thinks it's okay to, like, you know, shoot a bunch of people on screen.
That doesn't make you unfaithful to your wife.
But not kiss some. Oh.
I shot 30 people on the way to record today, but I didn't kiss anybody. I'm a good dude.
Yeah. It's a weird... That's a weird line in the sand to draw. I'm just saying. Also, maybe Keanu Reeves.
Yes, he's not too bad. Well, Keanu will show up in stuff that'll surprise you. I was reminded that I had forgotten. He shows up in the Ali Wong movie as a perfect boyfriend, which is kind of hilarious. Apparently, Keanu will come help you make your movie, which is great.
He's supposed to be a pretty chill dude, but...
I believe that with every cell in my body.
Yeah, Michael Rooker it is for me.
Okay.
And for you, it's Chris Pine.
Yes.
Okay.
Or Neil McDonough.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sounds good.
Or, honestly, Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes should be in everything.
Wesley Snipes would play the crap out of
Is he allowed to be in movies, or does he still have those tax problems?
I think he's just doing his thing. I think he just doesn't need to be in movies.
He just doesn't need to be in movies, yeah. And that's the way to be.
He's transcended the need to pander to the Hollywood machine.
If you really wanted to make this movie entertaining, you'd put Jack Black in it. Oof.
But really what it would be is Scott Adkins, who I don't know if you know who he is. Oh my God, no. Nope. Frank Grillo.
Oh, okay.
King of the current B movie.
I think we both agree here now.
Yep, Frank Grillo it is.
There we go. Problem solved. Movie cast.
Yep, done.
Even though we were doing Most Famous Fan instead of casting the movie.
Yeah, but so for the premise of this, Most Famous Fan is the person who's most interested in this as a property, as a vehicle for themselves.
Yeah.
I should have said that 6 hours ago when we started this digression.
We can always edit it.
My bad.
Maybe we could always edit it into casting the movie. Hey, whatever, or not.
Oh, shit. I actually forgot that we had a Cast the Movie game because we never do it anymore.
Yeah, whatever. It's Most Famous Fan and it's Frank Grillo. Yeah, cool. I think it's time for us to take a break, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Well, I think we're done with all this shooting and actioning and saving the world and escaping from fucking underground brigs at Air Force bases.
Pew, pew, pew.
So it's time for the last part of the show where we recommend things that we actually like. So here's a song.
Not only venom and spite, sometimes with sweetness and light, and we always end the episode by telling you about a thing we like. Recommendations.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go first this time around. And I'm going to recommend a short story by, I hope I don't butcher her name, Shavisa Woods. It's called Take the Way Home That Leads Back to Sullivan Street. And I read this in a collection of weird fiction, and I think it's worth noting that this is a really good example of how weird fiction can be not necessarily horror and have absolutely nothing to do with the Lovecraft mythos. But this is a really, really good short story about a woman who she's our narrator. She gets involved in a relationship with another woman who has some sort of paranoid schizophrenic disorder. And then they decide to take acid and go to her girlfriend's mother's Mensa party, because that's the thing that this family is all about. They're all about Mensa. And it contains one of my favorite lines I've ever read. Really good paragraph. The first time I met her parents, they were hosting a Mensa party in their home. Mensa is a club for people with high IQs. They take a test, pay a due, and then hang around upper middle class dinner parties with a bunch of academic liberals who have no social skills. It's great.
Ouch.
So if you enjoy that style of writing, I think you'll enjoy this a lot. It gets a little spooky at times, but if you've ever taken, say, a hallucinogen in the wrong place, you can really relate to this story. And it's really well written. It's about a non-heteronormative relationship, and also I think does a pretty good job dealing with mental illness and kind of its interaction with certain drugs. And it will kind of freak you out, but it'll also entertain you. I don't know if it's available on its own. I do know it's available in the collection of, I believe it's 2018's greatest weird fiction stories, and it's definitely worth checking out. I looked up the author, and mostly she writes stories about this kind of stuff, like sexuality and gender and things like that. And it's really, really good. I liked it.
Nice. I am going to go quite different than what I usually recommend, and quite different from what you just recommended, and read something that is readable, or recommend something that is readable as a piece of hardcore Christian apologia.
Okay.
I got a wild hair not too long ago and revisited the first two books of Madeleine L'Engle's most well-known 4-book series. And first I started with A Wrinkle in Time, which I remember well from a kid.
Yeah.
And loathed it. I had a terrible time listening to the first 2/3 of it. Then I had a little conversation about it, thanks Noodles, and enjoyed the rest of it more than I had enjoyed it up to that point. But basically the main problem I had with it was the audiobook version was just not to my taste. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm saying it didn't work for me.
Yeah. Like the narration may have been geared towards someone younger than yourself, or...
It wasn't so much that. I just did not care for the performance.
Okay.
And, however, A Wind in the Door, the second one, really did work for me. It's a little bit simpler in language, I would say. It's a little bit darker in tone, I would say. But something about it had always vibed with me very well from childhood age. One thing I was startled by when I revisited both is that the first chapter or so of each is basically word for word burned into my memory somehow, which is not something I knew before. But I very much liked the audiobook version of the second one, A Wind in the Door, that I got from the library, and found, even though I didn't love the first one by the time I finished it, I was glad I had revisited it. There's some interesting stuff there. A lot of thoughts that it's good to, I don't know, wrestle with from time to time. And I say that as somebody who is at bottom basically a 14-year-old, I hate all organized religion guy, and is not real proud of that. And so sometimes has to be reminded to have some compassion and understanding for people who understand the world differently than me.
I can't fault that at all. I really enjoyed that book. I've actually reread it recently as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think like 5 or 6 years ago,
Yeah.
I went through I think it's a 4-book series. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I really enjoyed them a lot. I do agree that A Wrinkle in Time is a little heavy handed. But yeah, from there on, it gets really good.
Yeah. And I just I could draw those covers from memory. Not well, because I can't draw for shit, but the specific editions I had kicking around as a kid.
Oh, I know which ones you mean, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Like centaur thing with rainbow wings.
Yep.
So anyway, maybe my recommendation is more like go back and reckon with something that you half remember from your childhood and realize it was better than you thought all along.
That actually reminds me of a discussion that's been going on in the I Don't Even Own a Television Party Pit on Facebook, where people are talking about Sideways Stories from the Wayside School, which was a series of books that I really enjoyed. And I brought up The Westing Game. I can't remember the name of the author. Nobody ever seems to remember that book but me, but a lot of people remembered it.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because it's very like metafictional, and it's also a mystery story.
Whoa.
And I think that kind of ignited my love for
pure
both of
J.
those things.
That's an arrow straight into your shoulder.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is where that came from.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally revisit books from your childhood every now and then. It's fun.
Yeah.
And it won't take you long.
And I promise I'm going to get back to recommending grown-up books, but the last couple things I read honestly weren't that great. And a couple things I read I like to keep for myself.
Yeah. Well, it's not cool when someone else knows about it.
You don't need me to tell you, I've really enjoyed all the John le Carré books I've read. That's not the point.
Yeah, obviously, if you've read a John le Carré book, you probably liked it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's get on to some correspondence here.
Now that we've established that we are people of letters, perhaps it's time we moved on to some letters.
A, letter B, letter C, letter D, letter E, letter M, letter G, letter, got a lot of letters.
Ooh, that song was funky too.
So good. Okay, so we've got 2 letters this time around. Here is the first from Win, fake last name. Just read this book, unfortunately, and it seemed like your cup of tea. Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. Research ship. Wow, that's hard to say.
A reacher ship just has really big hands.
Ow. Research ship sails into the middle of nowhere to discover what killed every member of a previous expedition. The answer, of course, is mermaids.
Cool.
It's a pretty short, fast read. It's one of those books that could only feel more like a movie if it were printed in screenplay format. I wanted to read this one because, wow, that sounds great, except, spoiler, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Don't tell me. That setup is good enough. Do you have any clear idea how many movies I've seen with that exact setup?
I believe Aquaman is one of those.
And Aquaman might be the one I enjoyed least of those, and I've watched Aquaman 3 times.
I loved Aquaman because it was big and stupid and it didn't expect me to care about comic books.
Which of the multiple times that someone exploded into a room did you like best?
I liked the scene where they were running across people's roofs in Sicily.
It's so good.
And just falling into everyone's house.
Extremely good.
And then I believe, Aquaman or one of the bad guys has to put his head in a toilet to breathe water.
Oh my God. Yeah. Just all of the moments in Aquaman were...
It's big,
they were extremely good.
And stupid and fun.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the one I liked least out of that setup. So, thank you for the suggestion. Unfortunately, I think you kind of defanged the episode. So while I will probably be reading it, it will probably not be for the show.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That letter should have included a spoiler alert.
Anyway, but that author sounds so far up our alley that I'm actually quivering with excitement.
Yeah, I mean, that author is so far up our alley that it's got bumpers.
No!
You can't even get a gutter ball.
No, you couldn't possibly. Anyway, second letter is from Claudia, fake last name, and is entitled Gene Simmons Autobiography. Hi, guys. Just got into IDEO TV, and I love the episodes where you read rockstar autobios. I went through a major Kiss phase, but even I wasn't enough of a fanatic to sit through one of Gene's books. I'd love to hear you guys talk about one, though. Best, Claudia. Well, okay, Claudia. On the off chance that you are only listening to our odd-numbered episodes, I have some fantastic news for you. Last episode, we did a Kiss memoir by a guy who's even dumber than Gene. So, congrats.
Yeah.
Or not congrats, but mazel tov. We hope you really enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. We've read one Kiss biography.
Yep.
That's enough to last me for the rest of my life.
I strongly agree. I'm
going to raise this beer.
Yeah.
And say, L'chaim.
Yeah.
And never, ever read another Kiss biography again. I'm sorry.
I got to say, I wish I could agree with you. I do think that one of these days we're going to come up on our holiday episode and be super strapped for ideas and be like, you know what? It's just sitting right there.
Well, the thing about Gene Simmons...
He's not going anywhere.
And there are very, very few people in the world of rock and roll that are as open about being just commercial and wanting to exploit their fan base as much as Gene Simmons.
Right.
So I feel like he's not a stupid guy. He's not necessarily a great communicator.
He's not as smart as he thinks he is.
But
he's as smart as he needs to be.
But I have a feeling it would be a great kind of... How do I put this? Like, it would be kind of like a great foundation for the Instagram influencers that came later, because Gene Simmons really did kind of create this platform of being famous for being famous.
Right.
And
and then monetizing fame.
Yeah, and there's something interesting there. So, yeah, I can't say I'm never going to read it. It's going to be a few months, though. Like, it's
going to be a while.
I still need to come down off all the Jaeger shots and expensive 80s Coke I've been doing, thanks to Ace Frehley. So,
but if we ever do it, it will set us up for great new games like Putz, Schlemiel, or Schmuck.
Yeah.
What is this act of Gene Simmons's?
Oh man, yeah. I'm trying to think. I'm like, what other games could we play? We could play like a Gene Simmons themed dreidel game.
Ooh,
would be great.
Yeah,
like if you land on none, you have to read the worst part of the book.
Oh my god, I am going to get back to my place and I am 1,000% going to Google Kiss dreidel.
Oh, it exists.
I'll bet you $20.
Half of the band was Jewish. It exists.
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah. Can you imagine whipping that out at a family gathering?
A Kiss dreidel?
Yeah, like, especially, I mean, I would say, most American Jewish families around the time that Kiss was popular, probably not super into Kiss. And one of their kids just shows up with a Kiss dreidel and is like, "We're gonna do this."
Yeah.
And for some reason, like Paul Stanley is on None.
Right. Dreidel, 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 I made you out of clay.
Dreidel, 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 for Satan I will slay.
Yes! I somehow knew I could just chuck it up there. So that's the kind of thing that you'll get in our bonus episodes. Bonus episodes, you ask? Bonus episodes, I say. We have bonus episodes available to you if you would like to help us out, which we very much appreciate and very much need. And you can do so at patreon.com/IDEOTVpod. That's a place where you can basically pledge us a little bit of money every month. If you pledge us $5 a month, you get an extra episode. That takes you from 2 episodes per month to 3. That's a 50% increase in the amount of Collision and J up in your business.
Okay, Gene, calm down.
Sorry.
One other important thing to mention.
You're right, Paul.
One important thing to mention is even if you can't or don't want to donate, follow us on Patreon. We post weird shit there.
Yep.
A few episodes ago, someone pointed out the fact that you could go IDEOTV pod in the cadence of the Wu-Tang song Method Man.
METHOD.
Man. So after a little while, I decided I was going to record a parody version of the Method Man song that is about our podcast, and I think I did a pretty convincing Method Man imitation, which it turns out just has to do with making my voice about an octave lower and breathing in through my teeth a lot, like in between every verse. And
but surely you would never have given such a thing away for free just to people who follow us on patreon.com/IDEOTVpod.
Did. You don't have to pay a cent. You could just go to patreon.com/IDEOTVpod. That stupid parody is there. It's gotten a pretty good reaction, which I'm kind of surprised about. I thought we were going to catch some slack about it, honestly, but we didn't. And it's there, and I'm sort of strangely proud of it. So check it out.
So yeah, your new ringtone is sitting there just waiting for you, and it will not cost you one thin dime.
But yeah, also sometimes, occasionally, we'll do extra dramatic readings if we didn't have time to read all the hilarious shit in a book. Like stuff goes up there even for people who don't support us. If you do support us, you get the bonus episode, and we appreciate that a lot because we're really trying to do a lot more kind of live outreach stuff.
Yeah,
and the money helps because both of us have day jobs. You know, it's hard to take a day off of work. It's hard to cover travel expenses out of pocket.
Yep.
And that helps us out a lot. So like if you're interested in us coming to your hometown, that's a really good way to help.
It absolutely is. Another really great way to help is just tell a friend about the show. If you want to rate and review us on, your podcast platform of choice, that's fantastic. Please do so, unless you want to say mean things, at which point, come on. Do something else with your time. Just have a bologna sandwich. You'd enjoy it more. But if you really want to help us out, just tell a friend and then, put them in some kind of, Jack Noble style hammerlock. Bend their elbow the wrong way until they agree to listen to the show. No act you could make would build goodwill for us more than that.
And Jack Noble literally describes a Kimura armbar in this book that we read, and I didn't even get into that.
It's gnarly.
It's very, very gnarly. I mean, look it up. It's a gnarly thing. But I don't know. We've been getting some great Twitter messages lately from people who have been very appreciative of the show and just telling us how much they like it.
Yep.
And even something small like that, it just keeps us going. So if you
people.
enjoy the show, tell your friends, tell us.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here to have my ego boosted,
right.
But I get depressed sometimes, and it's great to go on Twitter and just read somebody being like, "It's cool that you guys are funny without being assholes."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's great. So
that's what we try.
Yeah. So definitely, all that stuff.
You know what you'll never feel bad about? Stepping up and trying to support the stuff that you like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we missed our 5-year anniversary, but we've been doing this for over 5 years, and
Whoa,
really? Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's including the ones before you joined on.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, no,
but the
totally.
podcast is over 5 years old.
Damn.
And I think the main thing that keeps it going is audience feedback, listener feedback. I love meeting people in person who love the show. I love hearing from people on social media who love the show or in email. And like, yeah, definitely tell your friends, introduce your buddies, like let us know. Like just that kind of shit. It's way more important than the money.
Yeah.
But the money helps too.
The money helps too. And stick around because the show's 5. Stick around. We're not going anywhere. The show's going to go into kindergarten soon. And wow, shit's going to get real at that point.
Yeah, just wait until we have our own TV show that's all about us podcasting in our garage with a bunch of cats.
I've pitched that more than once and gotten nowhere with it. But
Yeah.
stick with us. We're
Yeah.
going to get there.
It'll happen.
They may have to recast one or both of us, and then we'll have to move to the producer role. I, for one, resent that.
I don't know. I need to get my eyes examined anyway, and I'm really going for the Mark Maron like Coke glasses.
Oh,
so
nice.
we'll see what happens.
Okay, but one word. Puppets?
Ooh, like a Punch of Judy show.
Yeah.
Except without the horrible misogyny.
Also true. Okay, so yeah, if you want to email us, you can do it at I don't even own a television @gmail.com, all one word. Probably I'm going to switch the show account to a Hotmail account for extra hipster cred soon, so get it into Gmail while you can, because once I switch it to Hotmail, it'll all be going to the junk folder because Hotmail doesn't work. And then, yeah, in the meantime,
I don't know. I've been trying to think about this a lot. Normally, we end the show by saying "Ride the Crab," which is a callback to Guy Smith's Night of the Crabs.
yeah,
There are absolutely no crabs in this book.
which is a bummer. He didn't even go for seafood, despite the fact that he's
in
the-
Key West, for
he's-
fuck's sake.
he's
He's in
in-
the home of the Florida blue crab.
He's in D.C. for half the thing. That's close to Maryland. That's where all the crabs are. That's where all the crab cakes are, anyway.
But he is in Key West.
Okay.
So I'm going to say, for everyone listening out there,
Yeah.
ride out the storm.
Whoa.